Well, here's another idea for layering elements in your jewelry making. I love this bracelet that you made, Cynthia.
Oh, thanks, Katie. That bracelet combines some of the elements from the earrings. It's got the mica charm, and it's got the little additional metal charm, and then it's got a little ribbon tab charm and a tassel.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
It looks so great.
And this is a great wrap bracelet that is constructed using this vegan mylar lacing, which is vegan is sort of a fancy way for saying vinyl. But it's really, but only petrochemicals were harmed in the making of this. So it is really shiny and I love it. So one way to finish it is to use these crimp on ends, which I'm getting ready to show you. But it's important, while I'm showing you this, I also want to talk a little bit about measuring it, because when people are doing wrap bracelets, lots of times they're confused.
That's right. You have to know how many times you're going to wrap it and how long to make it.
Right. And so what I always tell folks is you can start by actually wrapping it pretty snugly around your own wrist as many times as you want, and then cut it. And people are a little scared about that because they say, well, I don't want my wrap bracelet to be snug, but the distance of the clasp, when you add the clasp and the jump rings, it makes up for it.
Good.
So
that's a great tip.
Yeah, so if you just wrap it snugly around your wrist, in this case, I did this around my wrist 3 times, so I did 19 inches, and the clasp and the ends add 2 inches. So the total wrap is 21 inches for 3 times around.
All right.
So to put these ends in, I'm gonna make all my ends of my mylar lacing even, and I'm just going to put that on. I like to use, to crimp these ends, I like to use these flat nose pliers. I just feel like it's a better finish, and I really crimp hard.
Yeah, you get a lot of surface contact when you use the flat nose.
Right, and these ends have little teeth in them. So some folks like to glue them. I kind of throw caution to the wind and I just crimp it, and I've never really had a problem. It is important to make sure that it's crimped evenly the whole distance. If you just crimp both ends and you leave the middle uncrimped,
right, you're going to lose a strand there.
It's going to pop out. So I do always check it and make sure it's nice and tight. And then after I've got both ends crimped, you can see they're nice and smooth. Yeah. And then to add the clasp on this, I'm going to use, instead of using jump rings, I'm going to actually use sections of chain. And lots of chains, you may not think about this, but a lot of chains have links that are not soldered. And if it's a steel chain with an unsoldered link, you can actually open it and use it as a sturdy jump ring.
Right, and then you have something that's a little more decorative too.
Right, yeah. And brass chain maybe is not strong enough, but steel chain definitely is. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on.
Okay.
And I've got, I'm going to use a magnetic clasp on this. I really like magnetic clasps for bracelets because you don't have to fumble with them. You know, you don't have to look around for somebody else to fasten your bracelet.
Yeah, it's easy to do it yourself.
All right. Just kind of, the only problem with magnetic clasps is they do stick to your tools when you're working, so.
I know, you just have to make it work, huh?
Yeah. So.
And do you do the same, are you just using one link on each side?
I'm actually not. I'm using one link on one side, and then on the other side I'm using 3 links because that gives me a place to attach my charms.
Oh, okay.
So that way I have a little spot. And my chain is actually trying to attach to the clasp. Yeah, magnetic clasps require a little bit of patience and humor to use, I think, sometimes. So.
And then use that same, you're using it as a jump ring again to attach to the crimp finding.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's a little bit more decorative and a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, it looks good.
And
you could match, of course, you know, there are so many different colors of findings. You can match it to that metallic leather. It works great.
Yeah, it's great, and it really kind of continues that metallic look, which I love that.
Me too.
So then that's the base bracelet.
Okay.
So to make the ribbon tab charm, I'm going to use this little bit, about 3.5 inches of the ribbon. This is a cotton twill tape, actually. It's not a ribbon. I guess, what's the difference between ribbon and tape? I don't know.
I don't know, but they sure look great.
Yeah.
I like them for jewelry making. And you also showed us that great tip about putting tape inside.
Right, and so the tape is in there already, and it's given this some extra body, so I don't have to worry about my rivet pulling out.
Okay.
Which is always great, because you don't want your jewelry to fall apart.
Right.
So I'm going to use the setter again. And there it is. It's nicely set.
Looking good.
Yeah, and so I've got that's one of the charms. And then the next little charm element that I had was this tassel.
I think tassels are so fun.
They are fun, and you know, you can use any kind of fiber for tassels. A lot of us have, you know, some little bits of extra yarn lying around, and you can make a tassel any size you want. You just need a little bit of cardboard, which you cut to the width of the tassel, and you need your fiber. And so to wrap this, I'm just going to wrap my fiber right around this card as many times as I want, and then once the fiber is wrapped around, I'm going to come in with a jump ring. And I've just stuck the jump ring in there. I'm going to close the jump ring up.
Okay, and how many times would you say if you had to guess?
Oh,
a dozen?
Probably a dozen. I didn't
Okay.
count. So,
Just the more you do, the fluffier it's going to be.
right, you just have to kind of decide how fluffy you want it to be.
Okay.
And then I can slide it right off the piece of cardboard. And so here's my tassel. And then to do the little gold lacing that's at the top of the tassel, I'm just going to use some gold wire. For this, you want about a 24 gauge wire. You want something pretty thin because you really need to be able to wrap it easily.
Okay.
I'm going to place the wire right alongside my fibers, and I'm just going to start wrapping. And I'm wrapping this very smoothly. I want to try and be as precise as you can. Or maybe not. Maybe you don't want to be precise.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, for this particular one I did. So as precise as I can, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim the wire. And then I'll just twist these ends together.
Oh, okay.
And then now you don't want to leave them too long or too just poking out there, because then your tassel would hurt you. So what I'm going to do is trim them off and use my pliers to tuck this little bit right here all the way back to the middle of the tassel.
Oh, okay.
Really bury it in there,
Yeah.
so you don't have to worry about hurting yourself. Then you can use scissors to snip the ends of the tassel, the looped ends, and then you have an open tassel like
Oh, nice.
that.
Then you can kind of fray them out a little bit.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so how does this all come together at the clasp?
Well, to attach this to the clasp, I'm going to use that extra link that we talked about on the bracelet, which is right there in the middle. And
So you don't have to add an additional jump ring. You can just
No.
use the link.
yeah, I'm going to use that extra link, and I'm going to use a jump ring to put all of my pieces on.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm going to layer up. I'm going to start first with my tassel, then with my ribbon tab, and then I'm going to come over it with the mica.
Yeah, and you get your great tag element in there.
Right, yeah, and you could certainly do, you could use, if you didn't want to use the decoupage paper, you could use even a picture of someone you knew.
Oh, that's a good
So you
idea.
can make it really personal.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to slip this into that middle link on the chain and fasten it with pliers. And then the
Perfect.
bracelet will be done.
Oh, that looks great. That's so fun, and it'll make a great memento too.
Right.
If you had a little picture, a keepsake in there. Let's take a look at this necklace that you made using similar techniques. Can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Sure. So the necklace is made with a larger ring, and I used the same technique to set the eyelets in, and then I added a much longer tassel. That tassel's about 4 inches.
Oh, okay. Well, that looks great. And I love seeing a different color palette too and the different shapes. And this is just a great idea for mixed media jewelry. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Cynthia.
Yeah.